In 1986, Timex released its now iconic Ironman Triathlon, the evolution of their previous Triathlon watch, which was introduced in 1984. This new Ironman was a groundbreaking design built specifically for triathletes, and this watch quickly became an icon, even gracing the wrists of a US president. But I didn't care about any of this in 1986. All I cared about was how cool this watch looked. I was 6 years old, and this was my first big boy watch. This had plenty of buttons for my 6-year-old brain to keep me occupied. The wonder of having the buttons on the front actually make the watch work was mesmerizing to me. I mean, it was slim pickings in those days for entertainment on the go. This was a full 3 years before the original Game Boy was released. While Timex has revisited this legendary watch in the past, like in 2013, earlier reproductions never really fully captured the essence of that original for me. The watch that we're looking at today, even though it is a re-release, I believe it was released back in 2022, and it's been exclusive to the Japanese market ever since, though it can be purchased online directly from Japan here in the US for a mere $90. I spotted this on an Instagram advert and I just had to have it. I was surprised I could actually buy direct from the Timex Japan store. How cool would that be if we could do the same for Casio and Seiko watches as well, where they have really cool Japanese domestic models available that seldom come over here. The latest revival stays true to the 1986 design thanks to the meticulous research, including insights from the watch's original designer. The original watch was designed by John T. Houlihan, a former GM car designer who at the time collaborated with elite athletes like marathon champion Alberto Salazar and Olympian Mary Decker to create the Ironman's distinctive features and functionalities. This watch was so successful that in the first year it sold over 400,000 units. That 1986 watch became synonymous with the Ironman brand itself, and at the time Timex was worried that Ironman would overshadow the Timex name. The original watch's pewter-like case was painted with DuPont automotive paint for durability, and that was inspired by a car parked outside Timex's Cupertino office, which now interestingly is the site of Apple's headquarters. This paint has been faithfully reimagined for this edition, though modern materials and techniques are used. The original Ironman retained many of the triathlon's key features, but offered enhanced water resistance, 100 meters versus the triathlon's 50 meters, and a fresh aesthetic. Its design featured black and orange accents and a grey color scheme, along with a 19mm rib strap showcasing the Ironman name and the iconic M logo. All of these have been mirrored perfectly here. In 1992, the Ironman underwent its first significant upgrade with the introduction of the Indiglo electroluminescent technology that Timex was showcasing at the time. This replaced the previous corner backlight, if you remember from a lot of those early digital watches. So admittedly, this one is actually closer to the 1992 model than the 1986 with its Indiglo, but I promise not to say anything if you don't. One of the most famous wearers of this watch was none other than Bill Clinton. Yes, that Bill Clinton, the former US president. The Ironman line has since spawned countless variations and remains a staple as a name within the Timex lineup even today. The modern day version of the Ironman looks like it's been hitting the gym every day since the 1980s, is bulked up for sure, and I'm personally not a massive fan of how this watch has evolved. I'm not really a fan of that new one. Timex did recreate another reissue of an Ironman variant when they released the Timex Flicks. This watch was made famous by Jocko Willink, as a famous American author, podcast, and retired United States naval officer who served in the Navy SEALs. He is famous for posting Instagram shots of this Flicks watch when he starts his day at around 4:30 a.m. and that is to motivate his followers to do the same, to sort of get up and seize the day. I have reviewed the Huckberry reissue of this watch. I'll leave a link in the description down below. One of the coolest Ironman iterations I think was a collaboration with Microsoft, resulting in a hybrid Ironman data link series of watches. These watches could literally read data from one of those old CRT monitors in a way that was widely innovative at the time, and it even had a cool Timex advert to go along with it. So the smartwatches of today were really birthed from these early Ironman data link watches. And if that wasn't impressive enough, NASA gave these data link watches the thumbs up, making them one of the few watches authorized for space missions. So this Ironman wasn't just for earthbound triathletes, it also clocked in time in space and on the International Space Station. This watch is everything I hope for in a reissue. They've stayed true to that original 39mm width case, although I'm measuring this one in at a slightly smaller 38.5. The lug-to-lug is 46mm with a thickness of 10.7mm. I respect them keeping the dimensions of the original. While this watch felt huge to me as a kid, however, it now feels slightly smaller than what I would typically wear on my more grown-up wrists. Here you can see it on my 7.2-inch wrist. Although I have to say this smaller size is what put me off buying one of the newer higher end metal ones that were clocking in at $315. If they were larger, I would have been all in. But admittedly, the larger one is the Flix variant at 42mm, so they'll never make this particular one bigger, I'm guessing. The strap is as flexible and as thin as I remember. It has that stiffer feel as opposed to the softer feel of modern materials like FKM or Casio's bio-based resin. The orange paint is vibrant and the buckle and tang are perfect for that vintage vibe. The strap is 19mm, so not the most common lug width, but I think for this particular one, you'll probably want to keep it on the strap because it is iconic to that original one. The resin bezel keeps the iconic metal screws with a satin black finish, giving it that classic look. However, the black bezel does have a bit of a spray painted vibe to it. I would like to imagine that this was a purposeful choice by Timex and they went all in with reproducing this watch perfectly to that original, because there are some notable signs of this watch being similar to a 40-year-old watch compared to modern digital watches like a G-Shock. And what I mean by that is the paint on the dial is slightly blown out and not as sharp as what you would expect from a new watch, and the buttons are amusingly a little uneven on the front. They have that vintage feel where you might think they could pop off at any moment. They won't though, and they're still very responsive and easy to press, but I remember this from being a kid, worried that the buttons might just pop off one day, and they've kept that mystery to this watch as well. The functions are still cool, even decades later. The LCD display features two distinct lines of data, and as you scroll through the settings, you can see the title of each mode. This is so cool. On the countdown timer, you can see both the original time and then the elapsed time, and then there is the legendary stopwatch. I believe the original was called the 8-lap because it could store 8 laps worth of timers, but this one can store up to 99, which is a significant upgrade. The hold to reset feature is still there for the stopwatch and is really handy, preventing you from accidentally resetting all those laps. It's a cool touch, although if you are a proper triathlete, a smartwatch would easily eclipse a watch like this nowadays. Overall, I think this is a fantastic recreation, and I'm so glad I stumbled upon it. Reliving my youth for $90 feels like it was money well spent. I probably won't wear it all that often, but I know that every time I do see it in my watch box, it's just going to bring a smile to my face. It's a shame that it didn't come in any of the original box or a recreation of the original box. This just came in a plain Timex box, so that probably would have been a nice touch. But I think for $90, this is an absolute bargain, and I'm very happy to add it to my collection. More importantly, what did you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, love it if you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up and the bell notification, and I'll see you all next time on Casual Watch Reviews.